And this is March 2015. By this time, I'm being medicated by his doctor. He's giving me anti-anxiety meds, giving me, had already tried to give me antidepressants. They didn't work for obvious reasons, I hope. I wasn't sleeping. I had insomnia. I'd wake up with panic attacks. I needed to sleep, but my ability to do so was really, really compromised at this point. And I kept thinking that I just wanted to hear him or know if he came in so I could be aware, so I could be ready for what was going to come in with him. And at some point I go back downstairs. I don't really know at what point I gave up and stayed behind my barricaded door, but I managed to go to sleep. I took some sleeping pills. I woke up, and when I came downstairs, he was still up. He confirmed when I asked him that he had not slept. He had not eaten, so I tried to get him to eat. We get in an argument. He was accusing me of Eddie Redmayne, and by this point, he thought I was working with Billy Bob Thornton on the movie I had just shot, but I had already worked with him a year earlier. But he was very upset about him and the gentleman that invited me to a concert in London. My co-star, he was upset about these people, even though I had done that movie a year prior.
Who was that?
It was Billy Bob Thornton, Jim Sturgis, and Eddie Redmayne that he was upset about.
And let me just stop you for a moment. Have you seen Mr. Depp take any drugs by this point?
Oh, yeah. Sorry if I left that out. That when we had the argument about the MDMA, he suggested to me that it wasn't on the no-fly list, like it wasn't on the no list. That was his that was his defense. Like, this isn't the, you didn't say I couldn't have this. And over and over again, Johnny told me I wasn't the reason he was getting sober, but I was the reason he was staying sober. I had saved his life and all this stuff. It wasn't like it wasn't my job to police him, but I kind of ended up being in that situation, it seemed like, in his mind, when he would express that to me. So he took a handful of pills, and I didn't count how many, but when I came back downstairs, I did the math on the amount that was left, and I think it was either 8 or 10, I can't recall as I sit here now, either 8 or 10 pills of MDMA.
That he had taken or that were left?
I don't know. I remember we had a conversation about the amount that he took. So I remember saying, you
Objection,
took all
hearsay.
Okay. I'll sustain the objection. Okay.
There were only a few left in the bag, so I think it was what he took. And I said, Johnny,
Objection, hearsay.
He confirmed that he took that amount and that he could take that amount.
And what amount?
At this point, there were 10. He had taken 10, 8 or 10. I can't recall.
And when you say at this point, is that the first night? Is that the second day?
This is the second day. This is after I've already fallen asleep for the night in the room upstairs. Come back downstairs. He was still awake.
Okay. Please continue with that second day.
He was accusing me of being mean to his sister. He was accusing me of not liking his sister. Something about the wedding. I was trying to put out that fire, as you will. I was trying to say, no. First of all, I'm not filming with Billy Bob. No, I wasn't filming with Jim Sturgis. Yes, I filmed with Eddie Redmayne, but he was a lovely gentleman.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Let's not offer to prove the truth of the matter.
Overruled.
Thank you.
And then when it came up with his sister, he was accusing me of kind of having this animosity with Christy. I tried to defend myself, explaining why her and I had kind of become cold to one another. I don't know how else to describe it, because we never had any sort of direct interaction that was negative. We never had any sort of confrontation or anything, but I did my best to explain to him what I could answer to that accusation. And at one point he, I mentioned that, well, I can't say what I mentioned. He, as a result of that phone call, picks up the phone and calls his agent. I don't know why, still to this day. He calls a few people. I don't know who was on the other line. I just heard his side of it, and he's screaming at them. I got a sense that it was money, that he felt people had been stealing money from him, and that the studio had been ripping him off, and that he was calling himself like a whore, or he had been whored out. He seemed like he was upset, but I did not, at this point, this is maybe early evening, it was before the sun went down on the second day. I remember he took the phone at one point and called my divorce attorney. I had, at some point prior to this, got a divorce attorney, or not a divorce attorney, a domestic relations attorney to do a post-nup, because we got married in February, and there was never any mention or talk from Johnny about a prenup, but I had had interactions with his sister, and so I thought, okay, I'll get a lawyer and let's do a post-nup. When Johnny found out about that, or when I reminded him of that in Australia, he went outside and called my divorce attorney and fired her and said the only way out of this was death. Again. And I heard that already at this point, March 2015, probably 25 times. So he's screaming at her. He calls his agents. I hear him talking incoherently, screaming incoherently at my lawyer and his agent. He comes back inside, and I genuinely didn't know if he was still mad at me or if it was about me at all. I didn't know. It didn't seem like it was connected to reality at all. At some point shortly after that, I have been saying to Johnny, you need to sleep. Let's eat some dinner, baby. Let's relax. Please, like, calm down. In my head, I was thinking that it would genuinely change if he just got some sleep. He needed to sleep it off. He needed to come down off the drugs. Clearly, the combination of what he had taken pill-wise with whatever else he was hiding from me was not good. I had recognized that sort of delusion. I had recognized that sort of unattached to reality rage. I had recognized the patterns of those kind of loops where he's yelling about things that aren't even being discussed or talked about. I knew already that he just needed to sleep it off, clean up, sober up. And I thought we could. I remember I went to the fridge, I got out the steaks so that they would, be ready to cook. And I got out some of the food I was gonna put together for dinner. I went upstairs. I don't know if I came back down in my nightgown at that point or if that was shortly after, but the next thing I remember is coming downstairs and looking for him. We had an interaction that I can't really describe. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. He was just belligerent, throwing things, screaming at me. And I realized I was back on the chopping block. I realized it was back, I realized that the arrows were pointed at me again. And I tried to defend myself. I was explaining, trying to say that...
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
It was not for to prove the truth of the matter. She hasn't even said it yet, but try not to say what you're saying unless it needs it for context or something. Try to say what he's saying.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay.
He was just belligerent. I don't know how to describe to you because it wasn't making sense. It wasn't making sense. I don't know how. I don't know how the immediate next string of the next part of the violence actually even initiated, but again, he has me up against the wall, and I remember this time he slams me up against the wall hard. I mean, I hit my head hard. And this is a wall next to I say kitchenette, but it's more of a bar. I remember there were these cooling fridges, and I remember kind of being slammed up against those. I remember pushing him off of me. I remember the name calling, the whore, the slut, the fat ass. I remember a lot of name calling.
Well, this afternoon was the first time that we saw tears from Amber Heard. We expect to see more. Don't go anywhere. We are going to take a quick break, but we will hit the pause button. You won't miss any of this testimony here on Court TV Live.
Day at grove.com.
Let's get you right back into that Fairfax, Virginia courtroom where Amber Heard is under direct examination. You've missed none of her testimony.
I said,
Had he been drinking by this time?
he was drinking.
Calls for speculation and leading.
I'll sustain as to leading.
What, if any, drinks had you observed Mr. Depp have by this time?
Well, I had already seen him drink right in front of me. He took a big swig out of a wine bottle upstairs right in front of me as in a gesture of like looked right at me and took a big swig out of it as like a show for, like, did it right in my face to make a point. And then when I came downstairs, he was drinking from the bottle. I don't know what kind of liquor. I remember there was another bottle open, and I was wondering why he was drinking both. But at some point, he had me up against the wall next to the cooling fridges, and I remember slamming my head up against the thing. He had me by the neck, squeezing my neck, and it got really nasty. It went from like, oh, no one likes you, no one likes me, everyone warned me about you. That's what it was. He started to tell me that everyone had warned him about me, and that he wished he had never married me, wish he had never met me. No one liked me. It sounds childish, but I remember feeling really hurt. And then at some point, I shoved him hard to get him off me, and he shoved me back, and he said, "You want to go, little girl?" I couldn't, as I sit here today, tell you if that happened before he choked me up against the wall, but at some point, I am in a struggle with him where I'm holding his shirt lapel, and he kind of just flings me, for lack of a better way to describe it, throws me across the room. I land on a games table. It's like a ping pong table. And I don't know if I was holding on to him or if he pursued me separate, but he gets on top of me on the games table and is just whacking me in the face, like repetitive. We struggle on the games table. I don't know how we get up. I don't know if he pulls me up. I wish I could tell you, but we were in this struggle down in this games room by the bar. And we had this conversation about the drinking, or argument about the drinking, and he holds up this bottle to me, and I'm saying, did you drink this whole thing? Something stupid, focusing on this detail, and he is telling me that I can't control him anymore, and that if I really wanted to try, take it. And then he's like taunting me to take the bottle from him. If I really want him to stop, why don't I take it from him? Go on. Kept saying, go on, and kind of gesturing with the bottle towards me. And like he does that 2 or 3 times. I reach for it, he'd revoke it, kind of laugh at me. And he's holding out the bottle. I think like maybe the 3rd time or so I get a hold of it. I pick it up and I slam it down on the ground right in between us. There's a tile floor, a white tile floor. And I smashed the bottle on the floor. And that really set him off. So stupid. Sorry. It was like a light bulb switch went off. And he started screaming. I don't know if he backhanded me or hit me normally. I don't really recall, but I remember it sent me down to the ground. I remember by the time I picked myself off the floor, I stand up. He's got a bottle in his hand, and he threw it at me. It missed, thankfully, but I kind of pulled myself back into the bar area. I don't know how much time passed, but at some point he had a broken bottle up against my face, neck area by my jawline, and he told me he'd carve up my face. I don't know at what point in the evening. I couldn't tell you what sequence-wise when that happened, but it was terrifying. It wasn't the first time he said that to me. He said that to me on the plane as well. But this time he was holding a broken bottle to me. I honestly don't remember if I threw anything in his direction. I don't think I did. I just remember him having me by the nightgown. I remember him flailing me, or throwing me around. I'm flailing. This is after there were some bottles broken on the floor. I think this is actually after, again, forgive me, I wish I could remember the sequence, but it's flashes. He's throwing these bottles at me. I remember retreating. There were also cans, like soda cans, beer or soda cans, and they're coming at me one after the other, and I keep pulling myself into the bar area. There's a bar behind me in like I don't know, like an L shape. He's standing in the only way you can exit, so I'm kind of trapped in front of this sink, surrounded by bar on 3 sides with him in front of me-ish, kind of front off to the left, and he's throwing these bottles one after the other, and I can feel glass breaking behind me. I remember feeling one of them go by my head really fast. I mean, a real velocity. I remember being terrified. I remember I couldn't move, I couldn't go anywhere. I eventually trying to, I don't know, he ran out of things to throw. I think that's how I moved myself towards the exit. And I believe that's most likely when we got kind of in this struggle by the bar area, because I remember my feet slipping on the tile as he was slamming me from the wall to the countertops. At one point, he has me up against the wall and he's punching the wall. He had my, nightgown and it kind of ripped it off my chest. I remember at one point he's teasing me, taunting me that he has my breasts in his hands. My nightgown came completely off. It was ripped off of me. So I was naked and I'm slipping around on this tile and trying to get my footing. And I remember slipping on this tile. Glass was underneath me, and I remember just trying to get my footing. I felt really destabilized and felt really vulnerable. I'm naked, and he's flinging me around, and at some point, I'm up against the wall. I ruined his life over and over. And he starts punching the wall next to my head, holding me by the neck. I get free from him. I kind of step back from him, and it's like his energy shifted to the phone. There's a wall-mounted phone on the wall next to where my head was, and he went from punching the wall to like realizing there was a phone there, and he picked up the phone and he's screaming. He's "Rah!" Like. He picks up the phone and starts bashing the phone against the wall where I was just being held. And I remember kind of having some distance on what was happening and watching him do this. And it was like his energy had shifted, and I was that phone all of a sudden. And he was just over and over again smashing this phone into the wall, over and over again, screaming at me. And I was watching the phone every single time he pulled his hand back. It was just breaking into pieces. I remember thinking this phone is disappearing. He was smashing it to smithereens, just going into the wall. And at some point, he's on top of me, no phone. I'm on the countertop. It had me by the neck, and he felt like he was on top of me, and I'm looking at it in his eyes, and I don't see him anymore. I don't see him anymore. It wasn't him. It was black. I've never been so scared in my life. It was black. I couldn't see him, and he was looking at me, and I was trying to get through to him. I was trying to say to him in some way that it was me. I was trying to get through to Johnny, and I couldn't see him. I couldn't see him at all. And my head was bashing against the back of the bar, and I couldn't breathe. And I remember trying to get up, and I was slipping on the glass. My feet were slipping, my arms were slipping on the countertops. And I remember just trying to get up so I could breathe, so I could tell him that he was really hurting me. I didn't think he knew what he was doing. I don't know how